What are you doing?
Trying to win a step challenge with my marketing department.
Why are you walking around like that?
You know, trying to get as many steps as I can in. Got to game the system, right?
Doesn't that defeat the purpose?
You tell me. So what role does competition play when it comes to fitness progress?
Well, that's what we're going to discuss today. We'll talk about how competition can motivate you, but also how it has potential downsides.
All right, let's get into it. As you guys know, I'm Victor. That's my alleged brother, Julian. That's what my mom says, but I don't know. The jury's still out.
Too muscular to be his brother.
Too big-headed. Lips are funny. Anyway, we're here in Be Fit. You guys already know. If you haven't passed by, say hi to us, work out, eat a donut.
Dude, but what you wouldn't believe is what people are eating these
What are they
days.
eating?
So, competitions. What are we talking about here?
Competitions, you know, like you against me, me against you.
Self-explanatory,
Yeah,
bro.
come on, brother.
Jesus, we don't really have to explain this.
All right.
All right, but just think of some examples. Like,
Yeah.
the first one that comes to mind for me is like CrossFit, because it's become so prevalent in our culture.
Not to mention CrossFit is like a daily competition, whereas other forms of exercise can be like seasonal, like challenges that we see, fitness challenges. A CrossFit like every day is like a mini competition.
That's true. There's also stuff that's popped up like High Rocks, I think you say it, which is popping up everywhere, which I think it's a partner thing. You partner up with someone and they come to like your local town and they host this thing. And it's like a series of events. It's kind of cool and people are really into it now.
High Rocks?
Like HYROX.
Oh.
And then of course challenges like the one we're currently in here at Be Fit, Strive 35 annual challenge. So check it out next year if you didn't join this year.
35 straight days of exercise. Not as bad as it sounds, guys, I promise.
Then of course there's other challenges, 75 hard. And then if you do like martial arts, then competition is obvious, you know,
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, competition tournaments, things like that. Gives you something to kind of train for.
So what do you think? Are these good or bad for people's general fitness?
Well, let's not, and just to give a quick anecdote of, because we do competitions as far as challenges, but we don't do competition on the day-to-day because of some of the downsides that we're going to talk about at the end of this podcast. But for example, like one of our clients, who happens to be our cousin, Nelson, he did something a few years ago where he got a bunch of his high school buddies, and these are all guys in their mid-40s, probably early 40s. And they were like, oh, let's just do like a friendly like powerlifting competition to see how much we can bench. Like 6 months from now, we'll all train and we'll see who can bench the most, who can deadlift. And that had him, you remember how motivated he was
I
from
love
that?
that. I love that. That was awesome.
He would come in here and he would, you know, go hard because he really wanted to win and compete and, you know, basically show off in front of his buddies.
No, sure, he still got it.
For
I feel like that's a
sure.
huge thing for guys, especially like you're entering your 40s. That's like a huge thing. You gotta like, most of us don't have hair anymore. So it's like, okay, let me show you what I still got, you know?
I got a guy right now who wants to race me. He's 20 years older than me.
He's gonna get smoked. Sorry, brother.
But hey, I respect the fact that he really wants to do it.
Yeah, he wants it.
We'll both train for it.
He wants
Make it
it.
happen. Pay-per-view.
All right, so let's go right into the good stuff of the competition. We know there's a lot of good stuff. I think the first and most important one is that motivation that you get from externally, of course, from the end goal, but also the day-to-day with your other competitors. I feel like that motivation is huge to bring out the best in people.
Of course. We're not very good at motivating ourselves, at least most of us aren't. Hence why there's so many gyms and trainers and why we exist. But once you have that deadline of I have to compete, I have to perform, people are gonna be there. I can't just go out there and make myself look like a fool.
Yeah.
So there's something quite literally there to keep you pushing, keep you motivated, keep you going on those days where you feel like staying in bed.
Definitely, and I'm guilty of that because, as you know, it doesn't take much for me to just go, you know what, not today. But when
Doesn't help that you have good genetics and can get away with it.
aw, thank you. But
I only say that because you're my brother and I have good genetics too.
wow, look at those lips. Zoom in on those lips, please.
No fillers, I promise.
No filter either.
I mean, there's no denying that you go way harder when the stakes are higher, when you want to win something. All of a sudden, that competitive nature comes out and you just go way. And the perfect example is this challenge. Like, how hard have people gone? We're 11 days in, I think.
Day 11, wow, that was pretty fast.
But people are going in.
People are going in, and they went in even harder the first week because I don't think they know what it entails, what working out every day feels like. So they're all going as hard as possible in the first like 3 days. And we're just like, we told you guys in the last video, we're like, guys, relax, you know.
And I'm not gonna lie, I've gone way harder. Like the other day, which is pretty cool, I didn't know that Apple Fitness tells you oh, these are your trends. Like the last week, you're trending, like caloric expenditure is way higher. Like
Yeah.
you're burning more calories, you're exercising more. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
You're like, guilty.
So Mike has interrupted our podcast. Let's have him on the phone here live. You're
Got it.
live, by the way.
Yeah, you're live on the podcast.
Want to say anything?
Work out, eat healthy.
Thank you. All right, see you in a bit.
You heard it here, folks. So as we talked about a lot on this podcast, goal setting is important, right? And you'd be surprised how many people don't have a specific goal when they start working out. They just kind of have this vague, I want to be more fit, or
Yeah.
I just want to start working out because I heard it's good for you. But a competition sets the goal for you.
And a timeline usually.
A timeline, a deadline, it's all these things that are going to extrinsically motivate you. So there's rules, there's a deadline, there are all these things that you have to prepare for, thereby making you do things that you probably wouldn't do on your own.
Definitely. I'm guilty of in this 35-day challenge. There's some days it's been raining here and I
Every
haven't
day.
been able to, we strength train here in the gym, but when we're home, I'm not going to strength train. I like to like either go for a jog or skate or something. Haven't been able to do that. So I've been doing yoga. And to be honest with you, I feel great. I've been doing a lot of mobility, especially
Same.
for like upper neck and shoulders. And I feel really, really good doing
Same,
that.
it's made me realize how much I'm neglecting mobility and flexibility training.
Yeah, so I think these challenges help you do things like that. They're kind of out of your comfort zone that are kind of just going to push you a little bit, which I think we all really need at the end of the day.
I was holding that for a while. Another thing that challenges do for you is accountability. And I know we talk about that a lot in this podcast, but it's literally the number one thing that keeps people going.
I mean, we always say that's the secret sauce. It's like people are like, what's the secret to, and it's just consistency. There's nothing cute or nothing sexy about it. It just is what it is.
Yeah, if you have a jiu-jitsu competition in 3 weeks, you're not gonna let go, you're not gonna take your foot off the gas. You're not gonna take maybe that day off where you feel a little bit bruised up and hurt because, hey, I got this competition. I gotta go. That's the accountability right there.
Yep, I'm not gonna make a fool of myself like we said earlier.
Yeah.
One more good thing about these competitions is the tracking of your progress. I feel like that's a good thing that people, especially when they work out alone, tend to neglect, because obviously as trainers we write down our clients' progress, their weight, their reps. But if you're working out by yourself, let's say, or you're part of a small group class, so you can't track things as strictly, these challenges kind of help you. People are more aware of what they're doing. They either write things down or their little smart devices do it for them. And I feel like that's a good way to keep track of your progress.
Yeah, and it goes back to the fact that you have to perform a certain way. So let's say you're doing a CrossFit competition and you have to do, I don't know how it works, but let's say 10 ring muscle ups, but you can only do 4. Every week you're counting, okay, I'm at 5,
Still not
or
at
I'm
10
at
yet.
7.
Yeah.
You have to get to 10. It takes care of the tracking, which is super important and nobody does. And also gives you, like we said, a goal of I have to get to 10. So it's just like the best of both worlds. And I would also say that this is obvious and not to make a general assumption, but I feel like men are way more guilty of this, where like if you're benching with your boys, like you just get into it one of those nights and you're like, oh, we're gonna bench, we're gonna go for it.
I'm gonna tear my
you're
shoulder.
You're gonna destroy yourself to try to beat those guys, you
Yeah,
know?
that's when I worked out my best, when I would work out with you and with our other friend, just trying to go in and like see who could do the
And
most
let's be honest,
muscle-ups
shitting
and
on each other the entire time.
Of course, calling each other things for
All
having a
kinds
red
of
chest.
things that we
yeah.
won't
Of course
repeat
not.
on this
That's when I get
podcast.
canceled. No.
But it's true. It's like I'm up there on that pull-up bar and you guys are counting and I know you just did 20 and it's like I'm gonna do 21 just to screw with this guy.
Yeah, and then I'll try to do 22.
Yeah,
And
and
somebody
that's-
along the way is gonna get hurt.
And again, that's the competitive nature in us,
Definitely, and like you said, men are definitely more guilty, and you notice it in the classes too. A guy sees another guy grab 40s, he's not gonna want to get 20s unless they have no ego, which is very rare.
Rare, but it happens.
It's rare, and I love it.
Like a Nestor Salazar type of character.
Or JB.
That's like,
I
I
don't
don't
care.
care.
Grab. No,
I
I'll
don't
tell
care.
this guy, I'll be like, dude, you're gonna let her get 20s? Like, yeah, good for her. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. That's what we're doing. Awesome.
all right, let's do an ad read now.
All right, we're interrupting the pod really quick to bring you a word from our sponsor, Ño Que Barato. Ño Que Barato, they have all the latest trends you need, the tight jeans, the Guess shirts,
The bedazzled clothing,
bedazzled clothing, the fake jewelry, the hard gel.
stuff with misspellings on it.
Yep. Anything you need, polo with 2 guys on a horse, anything you need, Ño Que Barato, that's where you go to get it.
Ño Que Barato. Oh, you're excited the ño? Ño Que Barato.
Thank you for sponsoring our podcast.
And when you go there, make sure you buy clothes that's just a little bit too tight. You don't want to get something that actually fits you the right way. Make sure that belly's protruding a little bit. Make sure that you can't lift those arms up.
We're all going for the Winnie the Pooh look when we go to New York Balato. That's really what
Exactly.
we want. You want the little belly coming out. You want to be able to, your arms to look like this, nice and tight. And, their tailors are going to make sure that they're not going to let you buy anything that fits you well. Yeah. So you'll be good. But the reason we don't do more challenges and the reason we don't really care for competition on the daily in here is because, in my opinion, there's more cons than the pros.
Interesting. Do tell.
Starting with, I think the most important one, the overtraining aspect. We're taught that rest is a requirement, especially for strength training. Rest is king. Rest is what's going to give you your gains. So overtraining and going too hard might not be the best thing to do on the daily.
For sure. By training so hard that you're really trying to maximize like your performance, there is a huge risk of injury. There's no denying that.
We're not professional athletes. We're not people here trying to get a new PR every day. And if you are, good for you. But I mean, like, that's just, we've seen that.
Good for you, but it comes with a cost.
Yeah,
that's just the way
your joints are probably going to hurt. You're going to probably jack yourself up a little bit.
And let's be honest, most people listening to this and most modern adults, they don't get enough sleep. They don't get enough rest. They're overstressed as it is. They're overworked probably. And now you're adding the stress of a lot of exercise. And of course, you're going to ramp it up. Of course you are. You're going to ramp it up right before your competition. And again, like we talked about last podcast where people tend to go too hard too quickly, your body may not be prepared for that. And even if it is, you still got to prioritize rest. That's why bodybuilders sleep like crazy.
On that same note is you're going to see a lot of people trying to go hard and either having shitty form or giving you half reps.
That's a great point.
And they're like trying to keep up with the guy benching 300 and the guy's only going, and you're like, dude, for that, you just stick to your weight and just try to do it with proper form.
I do want to get to later about how people do anything to win type of thing and the dangers that come with that. You just reminded me of that.
I got some good strategies for that. You guys are into gaming the system.
On that same note, there's a lot of stress and pressure that comes with like competing, right? And especially if there's like a competition date and you have to perform. And I would say, and I can speak from personal experience, not everyone handles that stress well.
I'm one of those people that I get too competitive, so I don't really like getting those things. Yeah, I get too competitive, and like you said, then you start getting those like nerves, the sweaty hands and all that stuff, and like some people get nauseous and all these things. I'm not sure that's something you want to add, like we said, to your other stressors that we have as adults in this life.
And I think it depends on the person. Like people vary widely when it comes to this. And I think some people can thrive under pressure. Some people love it. I personally am in awe of not just like professional athletes, but like Olympians, because I feel like Olympians, it's so hard to compete to train your entire life for something. And then you have one chance. Like Simone Biles only has one chance at the vault. If she does well, great, she's a hero. But if she messes up just a little bit, there's 6 other girls that are gonna take it from her.
I feel bad for those sprinters that they have like their one chance. They've been training for years, and then their race comes up. Finally, it's my time, and they get there, and boom, they pull up short. Like their groin comes out, their groin gets hurt, or their hamstring gets hurt, and
you know what's even worse than that? It happened to some kid. I think he was 18, which is good because he has other chances. But he trained his whole life. He finally made it to the Olympics, and he got a false start. And sometimes in those track and field, one false start and you're out. Like you're out of the competition. Mind you, he beat all the qualifying rounds to get to like the one. And then like you could see it in his face, like oh my God, I made it this far and like I can't even compete.
That's gotta be the most disappointing thing ever.
One more thing on stress. It's not just the stress of competition day, which is nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
It's the stress leading up to it that's gonna cause you to probably lose sleep, add more. Because remember, we've talked about it before, but exercise is stress. You're stressing the body, and then you're going to be stressed psychologically. Plus, your life doesn't stop. You still have all the emotional stuff, work, family, kids, all that. So it's stress piling up, and again, that's going to lead to potentially higher risk of injury.
And like you said earlier, you've been building up for this. You've been stressing about it. You've been building. And that day comes, if you're for whatever reason not able to do it, that disappointment alone is like, man, that stings. That kills you.
Or worse, you like lose right in the beginning.
Right in the beginning, you like trip or something. A perfect example is we used to participate in these little tournaments, flag football called Let It Fly, Air It Out, those things.
Let it.
And one of my last tournaments, I was the youngest on the team, and we had guys like coming in that haven't played or trained in a while. And we had this one guy, I'm not gonna name him, poor guy, but hopefully he's all right. He's a cool guy. He's like, dude, I haven't played in forever, but he was like one of our rushers, the guys that has to get the quarterback.
He was good too, right?
He was good, he was athletic. And we go out to practice, we go to this field right here on PSN Park, right next to BFIT. And For literally, I'm not exaggerating, first play of the game, we're just running some drills. We're like, hike, groin,
Snap.
done. We had to find a new guy.
Snap City.
Couldn't do anything else. And that's, that, again, the
And
negative
that
side
is
of
why you
competition.
warm up, folks. You have to work your way up to these things. You can't just go from 0 to 100 when you've been sitting on your ass for 6 years.
Yeah. Sorry, Jonathan.
No! Another con, something that I think might be the worst thing about competition, and that is comparison.
That's a bad
Comparing yourself to others who may have an advantage or might be in a different place in their journey, and we're dealing with that now with our competition. It's just inevitable, folks. It just happens. But tell me why that is not a good thing.
So this
One more.
So these comparisons are obviously terrible for somebody's like psyche, for somebody's self-image, and we see it here, like you said, we're seeing it not just with the whole challenge, the challenge as a whole. We're seeing it with like the micro challenges that we have here at the gym, which what we do is like, let's say, who could do the most plate pushes or who could hold themselves on the bar the longest. Right away, I can't even hold myself on the bar. Like that's already discouraging for somebody. You know what I mean? Like if I can't do that at all, they can't even participate in this. And that's already like kind of like stings your ego,
Yeah, and the thing about any competition, and you could point out any sport, is you look at the top people in that sport, and they were literally built for the sport, right? LeBron is 6'8" and a tank. Michael Phelps has those long limbs and a long torso, allows him to be more aerodynamic and swim a little bit faster. So
Ron Jeremy.
No, let's not talk about that one.
Oh.
But you get where I'm going with this, right? There's always going to be advantages and disadvantages, and you can either complain about it, but that's just the way it is.
Yep. We see some people come in and they're already like have better definition in the arms than people that have been training for years. Or in Miami, the big one is everybody wants a bigger butt. So some people will come in already with defined glute, like how do you say nice glutes?
You can say defined glutes.
Defined glutes? All right.
Somebody will come in with
somebody will come in with a round rump, and Julian is here looking at them like, hey, why can't I have one of those?
Especially the men.
Especially the men. Only
Those are the
men.
ones I look at.
Yeah.
So you guys know I'm a married man. So Cricket is a highly competitive person.
Yes, I am.
Why would you say competition is good when it comes to fitness?
Because it pushes you. Like you said before, like normally you would say, hey, I'm going to work out today and just do, I don't know, a 30-minute workout just because that's what I have time for.
Milo.
Well, I mean, you can push yourself, but with competition, I'm going to push extra hard because I know somebody else is always working out, or you always have somebody that's trying harder than you and you want to beat them.
Will.
Yeah.
We know some asshole is running 80 minutes.
Hey,
She was there
I
too.
would bet.
I know. And meanwhile, I'm here trying to freaking survive 35 minutes in the Miami heat.
Sure, but then again, do what you can, and then the competition always helps. Like it helps you You can do a little bit more.
For
you can
sure.
always do better.
And what would you advise to people who get discouraged because they may not be able to compete at the highest level, but they still want to do well, or they still want to push themselves?
Easy. That's it's you against you. Because my goals is to run half a marathon. Doesn't mean your goals have to be run half a marathon. If you want to drop 5 pounds, those are your personal goals. Try to work towards that and don't compare yourself to others, because I might have more time to do a workout, but you don't. So focus on what you can do and just better yourself in general.
Absolutely. It's not all about winning. It's not about being
great
number
advice.
one.
It helps. I'm not saying it doesn't, but
I refuse to be anything but.
That's Cricket, y'all. Elite trainer, catcher here at BFit Training Studios. Also, previous winner of a BFit competition.
Very competitive. Another aspect that you can't really compare yourself to is let's say I'm injured or I have something that's slowing me down. I can't relate. I don't know anybody with that.
Me neither. And they never mention it.
They never, not even once have they spoken about it, or they do have one, so I wouldn't really be able to tell.
Yeah.
But if you're hurt, if you just had a surgery or something and you can't compete in something, it's okay to, like you said, not compare yourself. Compete with yourself. If you walk 1 mile today, walk 1.5 miles tomorrow. These micro competitions you can have with yourself, I feel like are more important than comparing yourself to a broader audience.
That's a great point. And you know what I think is going on, and I say this a lot, but I'm no psychologist, but I like to pretend I am, is I think there's some inner cope going on there when you self-sabotage and you say, oh, well, you see, those people are way ahead of me and it's not fair, so I'm just going to stop. I think that's a little bit of a cope of you secretly want to stop and you want to take the lazy and the easy way out, which we all kind of do. It's human nature. And now you're using that as an excuse. Because
especially if it's kind of daunting. You see yourself damn, there's still 30 more days of this and I'm looking at the leaderboard or whatever and
there's
I
no
have
way
no
I can...
chance. So why would I even continue? It's kind of daunting, but like we were just talking about, compete with yourself. Like, who cares what the other people are doing? At the end of the day, we said it last time, the 35 days are gonna pass, or whatever time is. Are you gonna be a more fit version of yourself, or are you gonna be the version of yourself that quit early?
Yeah, but I think that that's not self-evident, the fact that I'm joining this competition, but not to win the whole thing, because I know I probably don't stand a chance, but because I want to be in a better place than I was. That is the mentality you should look into it, that you should go into it, rather. But not a lot of people will think that way. They want to go in to win, to have a chance. So that's when I feel like role models and trainers and mentors go in, and that's what we try to do for our clients and members, and let them know, hey, you're winning. You're doing so much better. You're working out more. You're pushing yourself. Look, you just got your first push-up. Look at your stats. You're doing amazing. Okay, maybe you don't have a chance at winning because some people are elite and they're doing a lot of things and they've been doing this for many years. But it doesn't matter. You're still winning. Like, you really are. You're winning even if you didn't win first place in the competition.
Definitely. It's like being in the NFL or something and trying to compare yourself to Justin Jefferson. Like, hey, I'm a slot receiver, or I'm somebody that's getting a few snaps. I'm not the best of the best, but what, am I gonna just give up and not try on every play? Like, no, you gotta try every play, because you never know like how much better than yourself you could be. And I think that's what we should all strive for.
For sure.
And it's something that we see people neglect, especially in our like body fat loss challenges. We see people that are already lean, like, why would I compete? I can't win that.
I can't win. I don't have a lot to lose.
Who cares? It's more for yourself. It's a guaranteed way to keep yourself accountable. There's so many pros, and people just look at that one con of like, I can't win, so I shouldn't do it.
The perfect example of that, to prove your point, is that we trainers love these challenges, and we are people that already live the lifestyle, that work out. Like, nobody has to tell me to work out. I'm already, hitting gym 5 days a week. But I like the challenges because it holds me accountable, even as an advanced person. So imagine what it does to a newbie, an intermediate person, somebody who's still trying to really chase after those goals.
And you always surprise yourself. I feel like these people surprise themselves with how far they've walked, or how often they were able to strength train. Or we had a challenge last week holding yourself on the dip bar. I think a lot of people were pleasantly surprised by what they did there. I know I was. I wasn't expecting to get the time I was. And that's always like a little bump of confidence. Like, hey,
Absolutely.
You're doing something right. You're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and now we've moved into like why you shouldn't compare, but it still holds true that one of the cons of competition is that people will compare themselves.
Yeah, you're gonna see that board. It's like, damn, this guy held on the dip bar for 3 minutes, and I did a minute. But guess what? That minute is better than the 30 seconds you would have done if you hadn't practiced or if you hadn't tried.
Yeah, and the irony here is that the most competitive people, like the most type A, like get after it, are the ones that are hurt the most by the fact that they are getting beat, that they're not quite in their highs, in their head, good enough, in their highs. They're not quite good enough, It really, you beat yourself up. Like, that negative self-talk is horrible. All right, let's move on. All right.
Is that music too loud?
No, it's fine because we have the noise canceling.
I'll cancel you. For your
I know I said that.
Comments. Oh, sorry.
Okay. I know I said that the comparison might be the worst part, but this next one is up there as well, which
Are
is
you comparing cons.
I am comparing cons.
Don't do that.
It's if you're so focused on the short-term process of this competition, it undermines the whole reason for training, in my opinion, to begin with. It's not to win a competition and then I'm done. Competition's done. I'm done. It's you train for different reasons. You train to be healthier, to be more fit, to live this lifestyle, to have longevity, better quality of life, all these other things that have nothing to do with the competition. But when you are competing, you're sacrificing that long term for the short term of, I just got to win this competition, go crazy, go nuts, forget my body. Oh yeah, everything hurts. But so you're undermining the real reason why you should be training.
Yeah, and I think a good way to think about that is more like, and I know I've made a lot of sport analogies here, but I'm a sporty spice, so it's what I do.
I'm scary.
Yeah, I know you are. So like in an NBA season, let's say like an NBA and NFL season, these guys go hard, they do training camp, they have a hard season. What they really come for is the playoffs, the Super Bowl, all that. They bust their ass, but then they take a break, but they're right back at it. It's not like they stop forever. Like that, and I think that's the problem we see with general population is...
It helps when you're getting paid a lot of money to do it.
Yeah,
I'll do your career.
I'll do it for money. But what I mean is we see people focus really hard on their challenge, and then you said neglect their fitness after that. And it's like, there's no point to do that. The challenge should be like a kickstart to your fitness lifestyle, not just hey, I did this and now I'm done, and then I'll join the next one. And Like, no, that roller coaster of fitness is...
Unfortunately, that's how most people statistically see fitness. Is they see, I have a cruise coming up, I have a wedding, I have to fit into this dress. Again, there's a deadline, there's a short term, and then after the thing, it's just, we suck at holding ourselves accountable. That's why we do challenges.
And
That's why we own a personal training studio.
Life se presta to be on the couch, and especially American life, sit on the couch, watch Netflix, eat delicious food. It's like it's hard to
You're swimming against the current by living this lifestyle.
Like Teddy.
Wow. All goes back to Teddy Swims. Personal thoughts. Each brother discusses.
Wait, you're my brother?
All right, so let's give our personal take on this. What would you say, given everything we just talked about, is it net positive, negative, and what do you feel personally as far as competition? Like, what role does it play in your life?
So I'll start with the last question. I think competition for me is very good in the long term, but like I said earlier, I don't like the day-to-day. Like when I play basketball or something like that, I think I get too competitive, and that is good for my performance, but it's not good for my psyche, because if I lose, I take it too personal. If somebody does better than me, I take it too personal. So I'd say overall, what I call a soft competition, I think is better for someone like me that takes things to the heart.
Can just to dig deeper into that, do you think, like, when you say like, oh, he's very competitive, she's very competitive, do you think those people, I guess my question would be, can you be a competitive person without taking it so hard and so personal, and dare I say, be a sore loser of sorts? Because I know I can be a sore loser sometimes, and you can too, in the sense that you just hate losing.
Yeah.
I think competitive people hate losing.
I think it's all based on what the thing is. Like if it's something you see yourself like, I shouldn't be losing at this, and you lose at that, that's kind of like embarrassing. But if it's something like here with the community and the gym, I don't take it too personal. If somebody were to beat me, I'll congratulate them. Like, I think it's all situational. Sports is something that for me, I just can't separate. And I think that's something that's because of there's a lot of shit talking. There's a lot of
It's tied to your ego. Absolutely.
Yeah. And something like the gym for me is not tied to my ego. Like I would congratulate somebody that could lift better than me or lift heavier. So for me, it's all situational.
I think I'd agree with that. Although I don't like to lose, period.
No.
You remember the Top Golf story. But I guess just like psychoanalyzing myself, I've always been good at any physical activity thing. So I expect a lot out of myself. Like I can do good in this, even though I've never done it before, but I expect to just pick it up quickly. And when I don't, it's like, come on, dude, what's wrong with you? And I understand how that could be bad. That could be bad for your self-image, because I am the person that beats myself up if I go and try something and I don't perform to my standards, which are high.
Agreed. But then you think to yourself, how am I supposed to be good at, you've been good at, let's say, basketball, football, running, all this, but you've never surfed. How do you expect yourself to be good at surfing if you've never done it?
When I did it.
It's an example.
I know. No, you're totally right.
But yeah,
golf is a better example because I sucked.
Yeah, Julian was terrible at golf, and he hated it, and he said it's not a sport. He said all sorts of things. Tiger Woods, I think, really didn't like it, and it's just because he was bad at it.
I said, you guys brought me here because it's the only sport that you can beat me in.
But I forgot where I was going with that.
No, it's like something you can't expect to be good at something that you've never done.
Exactly.
That would be ridiculous to expect.
Exactly. But then like things that you know a little more about, like here, I don't expect to outbench like George and these other guys, so it really doesn't affect my ego at all. So I think it's all like situational based for me.
For sure. I think with the weight training too, because I've been doing it for so long that I know my limits. Like I know if I see somebody doing something, I'm like, dude, that's great, that's awesome. But I can't do that. I have never been able to do that. Maybe my body type is not the type for certain lifts or whatever, or I have pain or whatever reason. I just can't do it. And it's like, kudos to you. I'm not gonna, and I'm definitely like old enough that I'm not gonna get into that competition of like, put 250 on there. I'm just gonna hit it, even though I've never. No, like I know my limits now, and I'm fine with that. And that's one of the reasons why I don't go to a lot of these like other gyms and take all these classes. I really have nothing to prove.
Absolutely.
And I feel a lot better writing my own workouts because I know my body.
Yep. And you don't want people to be out there like, oh, this guy that owns the gym is doing like lunges with 20s. Like, yeah, you don't know if the person has
that I've
knee
had
injury.
3 knee injuries.
Like, and it doesn't matter in the long run. It doesn't matter. But unfortunately, fitness is something that people see and they judge, and you don't want to be judged in that sense. And before I forget, another thing that you were saying about expectations, if you've been good at sports, the expectation is to be good at every physical thing you try. But if it's something you've never, like something you've always been bad at, like art or something for me, I don't expect, like, I'll color something and, like, jokingly, you know, like, I'm not expecting to be like, oh, the best at, like, coloring, which I don't know, that's a thing.
Yeah, so I guess that is interesting. It is tied to your identity and it's tied to your ego in certain ways. So in terms of whether it's good or bad, I think it's highly dependent on the person and, like you said, the situation. Some competitions, like, not to hate on CrossFit or anything, I respect anything that gets people moving, but seriously, a lot of the people that put together the competitions will tell you themselves, like, we just try to make it as hard as humanly possible. There's no rhyme or reason. We're just gonna do this and we're that. And that's come to bite them in the ass in the past because, for example, one year they did it outdoors and they had the equipment sitting there all day and it got so hot that people were literally having like first, second degree burns on their hands. And it's like, what are we doing here? Are we trying to see how much we can do before we destroy these people? I much prefer a competition that, you know, the rules make sense, it's reasonable, it's not gonna get me to a position where I'm getting hurt to try to do this thing because it's insanity.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is it's highly dependent on the person and the competition itself.
Look at the Ironman. I would never want to do something like that, but they're super popular. People love them. So that small percentage of the population, I think it's good for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you really have to know yourself because if you are the type of person that this is gonna do more harm to my self-image, then I wouldn't suggest it. So what do you guys think? Competitions, tell us your experience with it. Is it good? Can it be good? What are the potential downsides? We just really like to hear how you feel about it, or if there's anything that we talked about that you'd like to expand on.
Let us know, Will.
And Ali.
All right, guys.
And sometimes Rain.
With that being said, we'll see you next week when we talk about dinosaurs. Right? I don't know. They're interesting to me.
What are you, a toddler?
Why do you think toddlers like dinosaurs so much?
I mean, they're cool.